What's up guys, Yuri Rocks here with another guitar review. And today we're talking about the Charvel Pro Mod DK24 in Matte Frost Blue. So right off the bat, this guitar is aimed at the shredder guitarist. As you can see, it's got a roasted maple neck, 24 frets, 2 humbuckers, and a floating bridge. Now my absolute favorite thing about this guitar is the roasted maple neck. I mean, this is just such a beautiful neck, and it is also very thin on the back. Thin and wide, very smooth for playing. Personally, I like the thinner necks. I'm not a fan of the chunky necks like you would see on Les Pauls or other guitars. So this guitar is very comfortable to play for me. Like I said, it is roasted maple, so it has a very nice color. As a matter of fact, when I first bought this guitar, it even had a distinct smell. Something about the smell of roasted maple that just smelled so good, and the smell lasted for months and months on end, and I was just happy to pick it up just because it made me feel so good. Like I said, it's got 24 frets, so definitely easy for that upper fret access. Now speaking about the neck, this is a 12 to 16 inch compound radius neck. And what that basically means is that it starts off somewhat round on the bottom and progressively gets flatter up on the top frets. And what that enables you to do is to do better bends. So they say the flatter the neck, the easier it is to bend, which is a staple of 80s shredders. Now I will say, comparing it back to the Stratocaster, I have no problem bending on the upper frets of the Strat. I think it's just preference, but just keep that in mind. It should be a little easier to bend. And of course, this guitar comes equipped with size 9 strings, which makes it easier to do legatos and things of that nature. And this guitar actually came tuned in E flat, which of course, 80s metal, right? Van Halen, Guns N' Roses. On the back here, we've got Charvel branded locking tuners, if you can see that. Moving on, it's got 2 Seymour Duncan humbuckers. These are the full shred humbuckers. Now, what I will say about these humbuckers is that they're definitely on the trebler side. So they're very bright. To me, they kind of lack that low-end punch that I like from my other guitars. For example, I have an EVH Wolfgang. Those pickups were designed by EVH himself, and they're very bassy. If you've ever played the Seymour Duncan JB4, that's like the pinnacle shredder humbucker. People use it on their Frankenstrat builds and custom guitars. That pickup rules. It's got super bottom end, but it still seems to cut. These have the top end, but no bottom end. So just keep that in mind when you are considering, if you're looking into buying this guitar. Now what I will say is, if you're trying to record and you want something that kind of goes on top of the mix, and this might be the guitar for you. So yeah, down here we've got a standard 5-way switch, similar to what you would see on a Fender Stratocaster. So of course it's going to give you the bridge, middle, and neck positions, but it also gives you the 2 inner positions, so you're able to play with the 2 outer coils and the 2 inner coils. Now talking about switching, we've got this face switch right here, and what this does is it actually enables you to have 10 different pickup combinations, because it changes the circuit from series to parallel. And so it gives you just a bunch of other combinations. If you're looking for sort of like a full Strat sound, like that full single coil, this would be the sound for you. here we've got volume and tone knobs. Now just keep in mind the volume knob, it's very low friction, so it's easy to roll. And sometimes I do find myself accidentally rolling this knob when I'm playing and I'm strumming, so just keep that in mind. On the contrast, the tone knob is actually very high friction, so it is more notable. It is a little harder to push. Why they did it that way, I don't know. But whenever the tone knob hits 10, you'll hear a click. Not sure if you heard it, it's kind of hard. But whenever that click is engaged, it actually cancels out the tone pot altogether, so it gives you a fuller sound. Me personally, I like to keep the tone knob around 7 or 8 because like I mentioned before, the pickups are a little bright. Moving on down, we've got the bridge. This is actually a Gotoh 510 bridge. It is good for doing standard flutters and that kind of thing, but I would not recommend doing any kind of dive bombs on this thing, because if you do that, the guitar is most likely to go out of tune. A lot of people online, including myself, complain about the fact that this guitar does not stay very well in tune. Now I actually learned from the YouTuber Philip McKnight that if you remove the strings from the string trees, it actually helps your guitar stay in better tune. And the reason for that is that the string trees were causing friction and causing the guitar to go out of tune. So just detune your guitar, take off the strings from the socket, and you should be fine. But then again, I won't recommend this for any kind of like heavy metal dive bombs. So just keep that in mind. If that's what you want, I would look into some other guitar brands like EVH or Ibanez. Even other Charvels do have the Floyd Rose bridge, so you definitely want to check those out. Moving on to the back of the guitar, we've got this shredder heel, and what this is, it's basically just a contoured heel joint rounded off for easy upper fret access. So here I've got my other Fender Strat, American made, and this one has the block heel joint. As you can see here, it is a block, and what that means is that whenever you're trying to play the upper frets, your palm just hits it and it's just not very comfortable. Charvel fixes that issue. Sticking with the back of the guitar, here we've got a scalloped lower bout, which basically just chips away a little bit more of the wood on that upper horn, or on the lower horn I should say, just to give you a little extra comfort when you're shredding up on the high frets. And down here we've got the beveled input jack, which when I first bought this guitar, I thought that was really cool. I mean, how many guitars do that? Having the jack back here enables you to have this sort of clean look on the front. You don't even notice it's gone until you think about it. Now I will say, it has happened to me before when I'm putting the guitar on and I'm getting ready to plug in the input jack and I am fiddling because I cannot find where it goes. Minor problem, but just keep that in mind. Speaking of the body, this is a dinky shaped body, so if you're a fan of Jackson guitars, this is the exact same body that you would find on a Jackson guitar. As I mentioned before, this is a matte frost blue finish, and so what that means is that this is a matte finish paint job, non-glossy, so it's non-sticky, and I do notice that it is very comfortable on this part of my arm when I am playing the guitar. It's just one of those small things where, like, if you're into feel, it might be a little more comfortable for you to play, so just keep that in mind if you're thinking about getting this guitar. Oh, and another fact about this guitar is that this guitar is made in Mexico, so it is pretty good quality. so now that you've seen and heard the way this guitar sounds, let's talk about the closing thoughts. As I mentioned before, my favorite part about this guitar is the neck. It is a very flat neck, very smooth and very easy to play. The paint job on this guitar is a matte finish, so it's also comfortable on my right forearm here. And you definitely get a lot of pickup combinations. If you're thinking about recording, I would recommend this guitar. Now the cons, the pickups are not my favorites. Honestly, I wish it came equipped with the Seymour Duncan JB4s. So just keep that in mind. This guitar has more treble than bottom end, so that's something to think about. Also the bridge, it's not the most stable, as I mentioned. If you're going for that dive bomb feel, you gotta look at a guitar with the Floyd Rose. It also doesn't have the best tuning stability. So the price is high, but my advice would be try to find one used, because you can definitely get more bang for your buck when you buy used. If price is no object for you, then yeah, of course, get this guitar. It feels great. But if you're on a budget, you may consider looking at some other guitar manufacturers. But that pretty much sums it up for my guitar review. If you enjoyed what you saw, go ahead and give me a like. I really appreciate that. And if you have any questions about this guitar, just feel free to leave me a comment down below. I'll do my best to answer your questions as fast as possible. And if you're new here, I'd appreciate it if you help me on my quest to reach 1,000 subscribers by hitting that subscribe button down below. I got a lot more guitar reviews coming your way, so make sure to check those out, alright? In the meantime, rock on. Peace!